Hello and welcome to the PCM Tech Help Show. I am your host, Craig Chamberlain, and would you pay premium dollars or even a few dollars for 100 times the speed of broadband? Well, Google Fiber makes such a promise, but are we going to see it anytime soon? Find that out today and more on the PCM Tech Help Show. Hello, this is the PCM Tech Help Show, and my name is Craig Chamberlain. Thank you all for joining us. Google Fiber, very exciting prospect. They've been working on this concept for quite some time. I believe all the way since 2008. Now, this is the PCM Tech Talk Live segment of the show, which is dedicated to you, my friends, the subscribers. And you will notice something immediately, that this is only broadcasted in 480p. Now, what this means is we're not in full HD at the moment. Okay, so it's all a work in progress right now, and right now I did a little bit of variation today. We are broadcasting simultaneously on YouTube and on live stream. Now you'll notice that the quality on YouTube is of course very much lacking, and that's a result of what we're getting here. So we could run into some technical issues. I don't know. We're going to find that out for sure, and if we do, we may end up finding out that we can't do that. Now the live show, this is dedicated to you, my subscribers, like I said, and we discuss basically things going on in the news and any kind of tech questions you might have. Many people post questions before the show, and I appreciate that, and we're going to see for sure whether we can answer those for you in today's episode. And let's get started. Now Google Fiber is an exciting concept. Wait a minute, let's not get started. Let's go to the news. Let's make sure, let's go to the chat room here, PCMTechHelpShow.com/live, and make sure everything's running solid here. I rely on your guys' feedback for this. So it looks like everything's going good. Some people are having some choppiness, which is normal because we're streaming, and looks like we're going pretty decent. So if you have any questions, post them below the feed at livestream.com. I'm sorry, PCMTechHelp.com/live. And you can join the community at PCMTechHelp.com/community. But post the questions at the live section. So Google Fiber, this is an exciting prospect for a lot of people. The idea is fiber optics, which is essentially a cabling that runs through light. Sounds like very science fiction, but fiber's been around for quite some time, almost 20 years, and it's been used in a lot of applications. Now Google has announced recently that they will be moving a whole division to, guess what? If you're living in Austin, Texas right now, I'm very jealous of you. I think if I think about moving, maybe I'm going to go to Austin, Texas. I don't know. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. That seems a little over the top because I don't know if I'm going to move just for some bandwidth. But it's a lot of bandwidth we're talking here. Hang on. I'm pulling up my PCM Tech Talk Live magazine. For those of you following the show, if you are part of the community, make sure you follow the community because I put Flipboard magazines for each edition of the show. So you can get all the news we discuss in the live stream right there in the video. So it's very exciting that we can do things like that now. Flipboard, awesome app. So Austin, Texas is going to be getting a whole gaggle of bandwidth, 100 times the speed. This is 1 gigabyte per second internet speed. Right now the average cable speed is about 10. So that's not just the exciting part here. If you go to Google Fiber, Google it, just Google it right now. Pull up your computer, Google Fiber, fiber.google.com. They have a full website dedicated to it right now, okay? And this website has pricing plans and options and all kinds of amazing things that we want right now all over the world. But there's a scary little topic I need to discuss here first. But there's gigabit plus TV, so you get gigabit internet, the Google TV plus television for $120 a month. So you get that super fast internet plus television channels, most of the major television channels, for $120 a month. Then their second plan is the gigabit internet. Remember, this is 100 times faster than your cable speeds, $70 a month. And then, best of all, there's a free version. That's right, you can get the standard cable speeds, which is about 10 megabits per second or 20 megabits per second, for free. That's right, I said for free. You do have to pay a construction fee, which is essentially equipment. You have to pay for equipment, and that does come out to be a one-time fee of $300. But come on, that is sweet. I want it now. I want it yesterday. I wanted it 4 years ago when they first talked about this. Now, there are some impracticalities that we need to discuss regarding the Google Fiber project, which is essentially it's a project that they're working on. Remember, anytime during the show, you can comment at the chat room, and you can talk to me live and post any questions right there in the chat room, or talk amongst yourselves, and I will ask you guys questions throughout the show. Now, the downside of this whole platform is it relies on the infrastructure of fiber that needs to be laid out so that all this data can be transferred at such significant levels. In other words, it requires a lot of money. The estimations for making Google Fiber nationwide come out at around $11 billion. And since Google is only worth about $250 billion, you can say that's like a huge chunk of their actual infrastructure would be just for providing that much internet to the entire United States. Personally, I think that's not that unrealistic of an investment if they were going to make it. I think that's partially why they're deciding they're going to move forward with it as an incremental implementation. And not only does that generate buzz, because we all want it, but it also generates a more cost-effective way of implementing it as they continue to evolve the platform. This is not uncommon with how Google does things, and so I see now people are saying, oh, well, this will never happen. You can never afford it. Never afford it. It's too expensive. $11 billion. That's how much it'll cost to lay down the foundation for them to provide this internet to everybody. Well, yeah, that's true now. But as they streamline the process across previous installations and set it up for all these educations and universities, which is pretty much why they're doing it, they're installing it on these huge tech-based infrastructures, these huge tech-based communities, such as Houston, or Austin, I'm sorry. And then it'll actually build up a reputation. It'll become more solidified. It'll become more stable. And then they can actually deploy it to different regions. And it'll be like any other network structure. You know, you start at the big places and then you migrate out to the smaller places. Good news for those of you who are like in New York or Austin or any of these other big tech cities. It means you're probably going to get all this first, and we're going to be sitting in the sidelines crying while you guys are watching, streaming HD video on your television. And we'll be just crying. We'll be all sad-faced. It won't be pretty. It won't be pretty, but that's what we'll be doing. But Google Fiber is a very exciting prospect. I hope you guys check it out, and it's definitely worth looking into. I'm excited about the idea because it basically gives us an opportunity to have a competitor in the internet market. Now, I have heard some concerns, especially from Tom Prokes at the community. Hey, Tom, how you doing? Tom Prokes does share a concern of privacy, because if Google's offering you free internet, what else is Google planning on doing? Google is no stranger to let me change that word, to monitoring information and data as it passes through whatever you're doing. They try not to, for as far as we know, sell that information as far as being directly linked to you, but the more their reach grasps out, the more power they have, the more information they have about each user. Something you definitely need to consider when you're looking at a big conglomerate taking over all of these markets, essentially. Because when one company gets too much power, what happens? Same thing always happens. History has always showed us that they take advantage of that power, and it gets quite scary from time to time. So definitely something you want to consider. So check it out, fiber.google.com, definitely an awesome thing. What do you guys think? Would you pay free, would you pay nothing for Google Internet, or would you pay the $300 installation fee and take the Comcast speeds? Or how much would you be willing to pay right now for 10 times the speed of standard broadband? Would you be willing to pay substantially more than you're already paying? Right now, I pay $60 a month for about 15 megabits per second, which is still pretty solid. But what the heck would we pay for? What would you pay for 100 times that? It would have to be a lot. It would have to be very substantial. So I'm very excited. So let's look at your questions. I'm interested in seeing what you're doing here. People say, ouch, they're yelling at each other. People are saying 480p, that's sad. I know, it's unfortunate. The fluctuation of the resolution is going to occur because I am broadcasting 2 videos simultaneously. So bear with me on that. I'm trying to improve the frame rate as we're filming because I have to act as both producer and host. So that's something we're just going to have to deal with. So, but if I want to be able to broadcast to my YouTubers as well, because I want to reach out to the whole community, then we also have to make sure that we are branching out to different areas, and that requires more computer power, which I don't have much of these days. So, fiber to the home. Everybody loves fiber. Wait, what's the Google Fiber link? That was fiber.google.com. Check that out. 10 times the speed. It's more like 100 times the speed because it's 1 gigabit, not 100 megabits. Rusty says Google's quick about fixing issues quickly. True. 70 is no difference in what I pay, so of course he would pay it. That's S10 Dog. Craftkick says, I pay $40 for 50 to 75 megabit per second speeds. You're getting a steal. That's a great deal, 50 to 75. That's solid. S10 Dog says he has 10 to 5. Rusty says 45 bucks. We have fiber, but not in my town for $44.95. So it's an exciting prospect. Fiber is definitely going to be the future of high-speed bandwidth. And as the infrastructure continues to span out and spread out and the actual demand for high-speed internet goes up, you're going to see all these, well, there's two things going on here. You have high-speed internet bandwidth going up, and then you have basically codecs and encodings going down. So it actually decreases the amount of data that needs to be transferred in order to transmit high resolution. For example, they announced the H.265 encoding, which is the new HD high definition encoding, and it's capable of streaming full 4K resolutions remotely over the internet. And so this basically tells us this H.465 is bringing down the amount of data that's needed to be transferred while our internet speeds are going up. So there's no doubt in my mind that the momentum of the internet shift is fiber, and higher speed internets and all that is going to definitely make internet a very always on, feature rich platform. It's just going to continue to grow and evolve in that way. So the internet is here to stay. Not a big revelation, but yes, it is. It is definitely here to stay. It's still heading in that direction. Holy Boy says, sup guys? Welcome back, Holy Boy. Craftkick asks if I'm still learning for an intern. That's a little bit on the hush-hush at the moment. I believe I might have found somebody. You're always welcome to send applications for an internship. I don't have any positions open at the moment. I believe I filled the position we're currently working on, and I appreciate everybody's applications, of course. That's at craig@pcmtechhelp.com. You can always send me emails with questions as well if you have them. But at this moment, I'm not looking for somebody. But we will see how that goes in the future. Can't make any guarantees. So that's it for the fiber topic. That's Google Fiber in a nutshell. There's not much other news to report other than the price is very expensive, so we're not going to see it anytime soon. Sorry, guys. But Austin, Texas does have the luxury of having it at this time, and I'm pretty excited to see what's going to happen with it in the future. Now I'm going to flip back here to the PCM Tech Help magazine. Let's see what else we got going on today. The 4K televisions. Now we talked about this in previous videos, and I want to know what your guys' thoughts on are on 4K. 4K is the new resolution, Ultra HD they're calling it, above Blu-ray. Ultra HD, at the time I read it, I was like, why would anybody want this? And now that I'm reading about 4K, I'm like, okay, well, I can see why people would want it in niche markets, but still for the basic home user, there's not a whole lot of benefit to it at the moment because the pricing is, of course, insane. Now, Ultra HD or 4K televisions are essentially 4 times the pixel resolution of Blu-ray. It's called 2160p, which may sound like it's only 2 times, but remember, it's also width by height that are doubling. So you're actually getting 4 times the quantity. It's an 8 megapixel image in video. That's 4K in a nutshell. Whereas your standard HD resolution, believe it or not, is only 2 megapixels. 2. It just amazes me that people don't realize that 2 megapixels can fill up a 50-inch screen with a screen or image that really cannot be any better by the human eye's standards. So the 4K televisions have announced a price drop. Sony already has released a couple of televisions. They're called the where's it at? The Ultra HD, the 55-inch, the XBR-55X900A is $4,999. That's a significant drop from $20,000 a month ago. And there's a $7,000 one for a 65-inch XBR-65X900A. Now remember, 4K televisions, you don't see any real benefit until you've gone beyond the 55-inch mark. So this 55-inch one I don't think would really be worth it, because Blu-ray quality 1080p is really as good as you can get for visual experience when it comes to resolution sizes. So I'm really curious to see how this is all going to pan out in the long run. This is my prediction, and you guys can repeat it if you want, and you can come back and say I was wrong anytime. But the idea is 4K television is going to be a huge market for huge TVs, but it'll also bring down the costs of smaller TVs dramatically. What's going to happen is all these Blu-rays, this is going to be a good year to buy television, people. Pay attention to your local market. These 4K OLED TVs are going to hit the shelves, okay? People are going to go out there and be like, wow, look at this 4K image OLED 50-inch for $4,000. I got to have it. It's beautiful. Well, meanwhile, your LCDs, OLEDs, not OLEDs, your LCD LED units, which are awesome, beautiful image screens up to 50 inches, very thin, not OLED, but hey, they're amazing pictures. Any 1080p TV up to 50 inches, you're going to look at them side by side, and they're going to look the same. One will be Blu-ray, one will be 4K. But the 4K one's going to probably look better. Do you know why? Because the 4K one, what they're going to do is they're going to implement the OLED technology simultaneously. So what it's going to be is it's not going to be the resolution that's better, it's going to be the image that's better, the pixels, the backlight, the contrast ratio that's better. So pay very close attention, because people are going to try to upsell you to the 4K, but really they're upselling you to OLED, because the jump from LED LCD to OLED is significant. But there's no need ever to buy a 4K television unless your TV is larger than 50 inches. Keep that in mind. But you're going to see a huge swirl of lingo and verbiage flying around over these next few years, and that's going to be a big part of it. Is they're going to try to push people into this market or this idea that you have to have a 4K even if your TV is smaller than 50 inches. But I mean, that's the only way they can sell TVs. It's just a big thing that people like to do, and they're going to keep pushing it in that direction. So hopefully that's what we do. So I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited to see where 4K goes. It's going to be great for those of us who don't buy brand new technology. TVs are going to be going down in price significantly. Now let's talk about Microsoft Blue. Wait, what are your guys' thoughts on the 4K? Are you guys going to buy the 4K TV when it comes out? That would be my next question. Are you going to go out tomorrow? You're going to go look at your local store for the 4K TV? I'd be curious. What are you guys going to buy? I'd like to see it happen. I want to see one of you guys with a 4K TV. I want to see you standing right next to it. I want an image at the community page. Now, for those of you just joining in, remember you can join the community, pcmtechhelp.com/community. We're a Google Plus community. About 222 members now, growing very fast. We have lots of stuff to share with you guys, and it's very exciting because we have tons of people with tons of different backgrounds. No matter whether you know very little about tech or a lot about tech, there's somebody there who can help you. I'm only one guy, so there's only so much that I can do. So hopefully we'll see what happens there. It looks like J. Ray K says you need to get a better angle on YouTube for a longer backdrop. Not that it matters. I've synced both of them. Well, there's a reason the YouTube angle isn't as good. Hi guys on YouTube. How you doing? It's not as good because I want you guys to go to the HD one. Yes. Yes, because Google Plus doesn't currently offer live streaming in HD. So that's why we're going this way. That's why it's there. So right now my frames are dropping horribly. I hope you guys can actually even see what's going on. But anyways, let's talk about Microsoft Blue. Okay, Blue is the code name for Microsoft's strategy of continuing a complete revamp of their marketing platform. And it started with Windows 8. Windows 8 was the first release of Microsoft saying, all right, we're changing our image, we're changing our strategy, we're going to change it up for all you guys. We're going to swirl it around in circles, we got to mix it up because we are quickly becoming irrelevant. Now, because of that, they've also released the Surface tablet, and they've also begun to migrate their Xbox systems to the centralized system. So their idea is to create a single visual platform across all of their operating systems. Now, while this is a great idea, and I applaud them for this concept because they had to do something, don't think it was so much of a good idea to make it mandatory on a desktop. I think it could have been great if it was an option on the desktop from the beginning and then kind of migrated all the other platforms simultaneously. But I think they were hoping to overcome the stigma right out of the box. Get it in people's hands, because this Microsoft codename Blue project is that philosophy. Microsoft has quickly learned that people are growing accustomed to app stores. They're growing accustomed to a single user experience across multiple platforms. They're growing accustomed to learning how to do it on one device and not having to relearn it on multiple devices. And they're becoming accustomed to touchscreen. And so that's really their solution, was this Blue, okay, this implementation strategy. Now, they've also shifted their strategy. Again, we're talking about Microsoft Blue here. Part of it is shifting their entire model to the cloud. Okay, so you have things like SkyDrive, and you have Outlook 365, which these are all online services that give you the Office suite and give you the SkyDrive suite and give you any kind of applications available mobilely. Now, the upcoming patch is actually going to make some major shifts in this direction as well. You're going to see it in the next Windows 8 patch. They're going to change the way Outlook and Excel and Word to more of the actual online experience, rather as opposed to the traditional software experience. So Microsoft is attempting to migrate. They're behind the 8 ball, okay? And that's very true. They're always behind the 8 ball. But they might be behind the 8 ball, but to be honest with you, they're finally doing it right, in my opinion. So Blue might be a little too late. I don't know, because Windows 8 was kind of a bomb. People weren't ready for it on a desktop environment. Surface is overpriced. And so while they might be moving the model in the same direction, the question is, can they get people to buy it? Because now they're competing with a mobile market that's very experienced in it. Very experienced as Android and Microsoft. All of them companies are very experienced in this area of mobile apps and mobile development. So Microsoft's going to have a lot of trouble remaining relevant in the upcoming online world with tablets and desktops. And so I'm not a big I don't hate Microsoft. Windows 7 is hands down my favorite operating system. I love the company. I love a lot of the things that they do. It's just unfortunate that they're kind of been behind the 8 ball. So I don't want to see their products go away. I like Microsoft products for the most part. So I really hope that this works out for them in the long run, but only time will tell. Now, will you guys go through with Windows 8 and the Blue project? Are you willing to jump on board with Microsoft on this whole new thing that they're doing? Because it will require you to adopt their platform, and their platform will be across all their devices, which means your Windows Phone, your Microsoft Surface tablet, your desktop Windows 8, and what else are they thinking about doing? I think that's it at the moment. I could be missing one element there, but this is kind of an interesting way for them to do it. So, fun. I got to ban somebody today. Awesome. So it'll be very cool to see how this all heads in that direction. I think Microsoft has some interesting ideas, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see how that goes down. It looks like a couple of people want fiber. People are still talking about Google Fiber. For those of you who weren't here at the beginning of the video, Google Fiber is 100 times faster than broadband, but it's only available in Austin, Texas. And given the cost of implementing it nationwide, it's very scary that we're not going to get it soon. I don't think we're going to get it anytime soon, but the prospect is just awesome. So it's very cool to see. Wow, a lot of people are defending me. Thank you, sir. Thank you, gentlemen. Hi, YouTube. HD. Go to the HD one if you're watching on YouTube. That's why I'm not looking at you. I'm looking over here. This is my HD camera. Google won't let me do it in HD. They're mean. I really want them to. I actually like the Google Plus Hangouts live streams better, but you can't have it all. Now, here's an interesting idea. You know, I talked a lot of pro-Apple news yesterday, but here I got some bad news on the Apple environment today. Apple has recently announced that they are no longer going to be very generous with their iPhone replacements. I'm going to say this again. If you own an Apple device and you think it might be broken or starting to break, now is the time to go to the Genius Bar and get your replacement. Right now, they're very good about it. You walk in there, you go to the Genius Bar, and you walk up there, you say, my phone's broken. They look at it, they go, yep, it's broken, we'll get you a new one. And then they get you a new one. It's a very customer service-centric system. You know, everybody kind of relies on it. Now they're like any other business model. Now that they own and dominate the market, they're like, you know what? we should stop giving people new phones and make them start paying for repairs. Now what, not paying, make them start waiting for repair. So what they did is they implemented a 30-minute guarantee repair on most issues with phones. If they cannot repair it in 30 minutes, then they will give you a replacement phone. While this is a great idea, it's kind of a scary cop-out to me, because I think it's the beginning of the momentum in the direction of saying, well, let's push that back to an hour. Let's push that back to 2 hours. Let's just say, oh, well, we got to hang on to it for a couple weeks, because that's happened. Companies like Geek Squad do this. They sell you a warranty, you get in, they're like, oh, no, we got to try to fix it first. And so I don't really know how this is going to go. I can see why they would do it. A lot of people do take advantage of this service, and they go in there and they just get a new phone. So pay attention to what's going on in the Apple stores right now. If you own an Apple device, this is going to be a change that takes place. Let me see if I got a date here. I want to make sure I got a date. Mid-April. Mid-April. Wow, guys, that's like to this month. So run to your Apple store now. Run to your Apple store now. Now would be the time to get a replacement if you think you might be having issues with your current Apple device. So check it out. So I don't really know. I don't really know how that's all going to pan out for Apple. Of course, they have such buying power that I'm not surprised. Their current update has been so good, or their current service plan has been so good, it's kind of hard to say, well, whatever. So, but it really just depends on how it goes. But I don't think that's really good news for Apple product users. I think that's bad news. But they still claim that they can repair your device within 30 minutes, so I guess that's kind of promising. So do you guys go to Apple at all? Do you like Apple products? Have you used their Genius Bar? Have you had any good customer support? My father hates them badly. He had a Genius Bar experience that was unlike no other. It was a complete nightmare. He went there. He didn't schedule an appointment with the geniuses. They made him come back 2 hours later. Then people got to line hop in front of him, and then all they ended up doing was going in the back and giving him a different one. Like, it took them 3 minutes to actually do the transaction. But that's just one case. They're not all that way, I'm sure. All right, another person to ban. Welcome back, and goodbye. Because that's how I roll. All right, so the next article we're going to talk about is Google Play Store first in number of downloads. Google Play. So much for pro Apple news today. Google Play is at the forefront of news. Of downloads and the number of downloads in the current app markets. Not only that, but let's talk a little bit about how well Google is doing. Not only do they own 51% of the total number of 13.4 billion in this first year's quarter for downloads, but they are the clear leader on the financial front. This is an article from Android Authority, with 74% share of the revenue out of the total of $2.2 billion. So not only are more people downloading Android apps, but the profit margin on the Android App Store is far more substantial. That speaks volumes to where the future of the mobile market is heading. So I'm very excited to see what happens with that, because as we've talked about in previous episodes, you have this shift between your Apple and Android kind of merging together now. The hardware is becoming irrelevant. App availability is becoming more prominent, and really people can almost get anything that they want customized to their personality. And that's kind of one of the awesome things about technology right now, is that you can almost get something that fits your personality perfectly, whether it's Apple or Android. Because a lot of people have an Apple personality, a lot of people have an Android personality. Some people have a Microsoft personality, some people have a BlackBerry personality. It just really depends on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. And that's why when you come to the community or you ask me for help, what should I buy, what should I buy? My first question is, what are you going to use it for? What kind of person are you? Because technology has become very personal, and it's pretty awesome to see what we're doing here. So it's kind of funny to see what's really going on in the Android market, because it's evolved so rapidly. I think the first Android phones hit the market, what, in 2008? Maybe 2009? And so you're seeing, what, 5 years? I'm looking at the year on my phone watch, by the way. I'm not looking at the time. 5 years, I think they've just really just gone from, hi, we're Android, to, whoa, we're steamrolling over all of our competitors, Android. And it just shows you what can happen with technology, how it can really flip like that. And I'm kind of wondering if you guys have had any personal experiences with Android or Apple. What would you prefer? What do you prefer? And of course, leave them at the chat room. Remember, you can see that at pcmtechhelp.com/live. And let's try to keep it from people fighting in the chat room. That's not appropriate. That's not the environment we're trying to create for all of our community members. So I'm sorry for the distraction, everybody. Okay, now let's move on to what else we got going on here. Soon I'm going to move on to your questions. Facebook Home got leaked, that app. Apparently people got to touch it. It wasn't all that great. Now this is a more of a fun star article. Is instantgram.me. It's a website called instantgram.me, and it actually lets you print your Instagram photos directly to magnets. I thought that was kind of cool. I wanted to share that with you guys. As you guys know, I'm kind of a sucker for these cheesy little ideas that people come up with. And instantgram.me lets you actually purchase for $17 with free worldwide shipping one of your Instagram photos to a magnet. And I think it's a good idea because like the Instagram photos are cool, but they're not really like I'm going to put them in a frame, hang them on a wall cool. Maybe print them on a magnet, stick them on a fridge cool. Yeah, I could see that. I could see people doing that. That's instantgram.me. Check that out. And believe I'm not sponsoring them. I just read it, and to be honest with you, I thought that was kind of a cool thing. So I'll see where they go with that. Hopefully they succeed in their venture. $17 is a little pricey for a magnet about that size, but I suppose if you really want to get something printed, you can get it printed. So that's all there is for the news today. I'm going to actually go into the subscriber questions at this time, and I did get a lot of subscriber questions before the show. I actually didn't even get time to get to them in yesterday's show because we were doing so awesome. And so now I can actually get to your guys' questions. For those of you who are just now joining, you can post the questions at pcmtechhelp.com/live. And for those of you on YouTube, the show is actually primarily held right below. You see the link, pcmtechhelp.com/live. Google currently doesn't let me broadcast in HD, so I actually shifted over to live stream at this time until they give me live stream capabilities. So I'm pretty excited about the live show. I think it's going really well. So let's check out our comments and questions for tonight's show. Tom Prokes asked me, updating your BIOS, should you, how to, and when? This is an excellent question. This BIOS, which is your basic input-output system, is the core of how your hardware is mapped and communicated with through your operating system. The BIOS is a completely separate system. A lot of people mistake this. That BIOS usually runs on something called firmware, and the firmware is supplied by your motherboard manufacturer. So when you're talking anything BIOS, don't think Windows, don't think Linux, don't think Unix, don't think Chromium, don't think any of those other operating systems. You're talking a motherboard-specific software, or firmware, as they call it. So when you go to update your BIOS, or think about updating your BIOS, you start at the motherboard manufacturer, and you need to get your model number for your motherboard. Now, there are some tools out there for getting your motherboard and your model number for your motherboard, but I'm old school, okay? I don't like using tools for that. I don't trust them. Maybe it's my age, or I don't know what it is, or maybe it's just my history with these tools. But when you open up a case, the model number is going to be printed right on the board somewhere. So you can get that motherboard model number, and then you can actually go to that motherboard's website. So if it's Asus or Asus, I don't know how you guys pronounce it, however you want to, or what's the name of that? Wow. I'm really drawing a brain. Intel, AMD, whatever your motherboard might be, you can go straight to their website, you find the motherboard section, and then you go to the downloads. Usually you can actually search for firmware by motherboard model number. Now, why would you decide to update your firmware? Well, there's a couple of reasons you might consider this. A lot of times they improve stability, and for the most part, you want to update your firmware if you're considering doing a processor upgrade. So if you're looking at your system and you're like, I really want to update my processor from, somebody actually asked this question the other night, from a Core i5 to a Core i7, a lot of times when the motherboard was released and shipped, it didn't support the i7, but the physical port slot does. So then you can go to the motherboard manufacturer site and they will give you the firmware to flash your motherboard. They'll give you a tool to do it, and you'll flash your motherboard so that it'll support whatever revision of Core i7 you might need. And that'll be in the documents for that firmware revision. So you have to check your firmware revision for that motherboard to find out what processors are supported. Another reason somebody might flash their firmware is to have more features added. I actually had to flash my firmware on this CyberPower laptop because out of the box it didn't support 64-bit HT hyper-threading technology. It's some kind of a virtualization hyper-threading. I don't know what it was called. I couldn't install Windows 8 as a virtual machine because it didn't have that feature. So I had to flash my firmware, because that's a firmware feature, and then enable it in the BIOS in order to have that feature enabled. So that's another reason somebody might do it. But in a nutshell, it's not that hard to do. Usually you have to open up your box, and if it's like a Dell or a main manufacturer computer, you go by model number. Okay, you're going to look for that model number's firmware rather than the motherboard's firmware. But if it's a custom built, then you're going to go off the motherboard's part number. And then you go there, you go to the download section, and you're going to check motherboards and firmware. It's called firmware. Usually they'll have a firmware loader utility and the firmware itself, or the firmware itself will include a loading utility. And that utility usually now lets you load the firmware from Windows. And if it doesn't let you load from Windows, sometimes you need to put it all into like a floppy disk or burn it onto a CD and set your BIOS to boot from CD, and then it'll actually run the install off of that device. So those are the most common methods by which people do it. But that's an excellent question, Tom. Thanks for asking it. Nintendog asks, what would be a good book to study for a CompTIA certification? Well, I'm not CompTIA certified, but I'm pro certifications big time. I don't have a specific book, but I'm going to point you in the direction of Eli Etherton. I don't know if you guys have followed him on YouTube or not. He's going to have more of an idea of what to do for CompTIA. Now, you'll know I usually suggest people for CompTIA certifications or any kind of certification, assuming they can get it for a long period of time. And if they can, just get it under their belt, get it done. It'll help you get a better job and get more pay. But me, how do I shop for books? I go to Amazon.com, I do a search, and I actually sort them by reviews. Just make sure with these CompTIA books you're getting the most recent release. There's nothing worse than buying a certification book that's from the previous year's certifications, so you're not actually studying what the current year's certifications are. So I wish I had a specific answer for you, Nintendog, but I really only have a way for you to do a search, and you can really do that through Amazon. That's going to be your best bet. I think you can actually read some good feedback on that. Craftkick said, I heard something big happen with Google today. Well, that would be the Google Fiber we talked about earlier in the show, and that's for the most part what happened. Rebel Do says, would having a magnet near a hard drive destroy it? Yes, it would. It would have to be a very strong magnet, though. A lot of those hard drives, or modern hard drives, have shielding in that. That's why you got that metal case, and there's actually a shield, electromagnetic shield around the outside. And then usually, since your hard drive is inside of an enclosure, that also has an extra layer of protection. You need a pretty powerful magnet in order to actually wipe a drive with a magnet. So I would say you're safe for the most part, like if you put a fridge magnet on the side of your case or something and you really just did. But as things get more and more powerful, you have an issue of the potential of them wiping a drive. But yeah, I mean, just the way that the tape in your hard drive is a magnetized device. And when you put they're aligned, all the sectors are aligned in it, and if you put a strong enough magnet next to it, it'll actually realign those sectors and it'll make them unreadable. So, and it can destroy it permanently, yeah. Another thing to note on that is solid-state drives, solid-state hard drives don't actually have that issue. Solid-state hard drives don't have tape in them, so they don't use, they're not accustomed to the same problem. So, let's go down here through the questions and see what we're going through here, if there's anything going on. Craftkick says, I want free stuff. That's why I mentioned instantgram.me. Yeah, that'd be great if they showed up. They said, like, I'm going to send you a picture. I don't even want all of mine. Compton Sue, he's a great person to ask for certifications. So when you ask that Nintendog, go ask it at the community page, pcmtechhelp.com/community. He will be able to point you in a much better direction than I will, and that will hopefully get you on the right path, because we want to get you on the right path. I don't want you guys to think, if I don't know it, it doesn't mean it's not worth your time, and if I don't know it, remember this is a live show. I don't have my normal resources on hand to be able to answer your question immediately. So Looks like Viper and Tom are being somewhat immature, so I hope you guys kind of shut that down soon. Rebel says LOL. Rebel says, throw me a chair. Is there anything else going on here? Oh noes. Hey, looks like we've reached the tail end of our show. We had a good show tonight. And again, I kept it short. I can go back and check the testing. Before I close the show tonight, I do want to ask you guys, did the quality function properly? Because I am currently looking at my resolution and everything looks like it's running really solid. And the problem with that is I can't really tell if the frames are coming out choppy on your end or not, because I can't actually watch the live stream. So what we have here is, when I'm done recording this, I'm going to see a final copy of the production, and the final copy is going to look fantastic. It's going to look perfect at perfect 30 frames a second. But when you guys watch it, you might get a completely different experience. So hopefully you guys can post that here or in the community after the show, and we can kind of get those issues resolved. I'm going to need a better computer, guys. This is sad. I have an i7 processor on this thing. Goes to show you how much resolution is required for streaming HD, and I'm not even streaming 1080p. So that's kind of crazy. But thank you guys for coming out. Don't forget to swing by the website, pcmtechhelp.com, and subscribe on YouTube, where lots of content is going to occur outside of the show. The show broadcasts live 9 p.m. Eastern to 9:30 usually p.m. Eastern, Monday through Thursday. So make sure you tune in there. And also join the community. We're 222 members strong. We're a great community with great backgrounds. And hopefully our chat room today isn't a full testimony of that. We had a little bit of a squabble, but that's fine. It happens. And make sure you join it, because there's a lot of great people there, and they're more than happy to help you no matter how much you know or don't know. I'll see you guys at the community, which is the, what did I call it? Tech After Party. Woohoo! All right! Well, YouTubers, I'm just staring at my screen right now. Thanks for coming out and checking out the show. Again, it does take place Monday through Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern, and it's really kind of an experimental thing we're doing right now between all of our different streaming options. It's very difficult to keep everything going simultaneously. I've got like 3 different utilities going. I really wish Google would release a full HD version. I've contemplated going back to the actual HD version or the standard definition version, simply for simplicity's sake and the fact that it integrates better with the YouTube channel. So feel free to leave your comments and join the community, pcmtechhelp.com. I always appreciate you guys coming out, and there's going to be plenty more videos coming up, not just these live streams. I've been working diligently on pre-production, behind-the-scenes plans. So stay tuned, and I'll see you guys in the upcoming videos.